Hello everyone, my name is Terza. It's such an honor to be here tonight and share my story with all of you. I grew up in Vancouver and became a mom at the early age of 19. I moved to Saskatoon when my kids, Veda and Mason, were very young and spent the majority of my time here as a single mom until I met the love of my life. Nights like tonight are so special to me. I get to have my hair and makeup done, put on a fancy gown, and mingle with a cocktail in my hand. Moments like this remind me of when my biggest worry was just what I should wear to an event. This is a time I refer to as life before cancer. I had met the love of my life, Ricky, and we had been together for 4 years. Ricky's the best thing that happened to me and my kids' lives. My daughter was graduating high school, and my son was in grade 6. I had just started my own photography business while still working full-time for a plastic surgeon. Ricky is a storm chaser and chases tornadoes for a living, but other than that, our home life is pretty normal. Ricky and I were both driven, and work was our priority. Our lives were fast-paced, and our calendars were always full. At 36 years old, I had big goals to accomplish so that I could enjoy life later on. When we weren't working and didn't have the kids with us, we would be out with friends, going to events, or going on date nights. If it involved dressing up in a cute outfit and an excuse to have full glam, I was in. For as long as I can remember, I've always been drawn to girly things and truly enjoyed it. When I was a little girl, I dreamt of the day I would grow up and look like my Barbies. In 2021, I was getting ready to go on a girl trip to Spain with my best friend from high school. And while trying on bikinis, I had found a lump in my right breast. I had an ultrasound done on it, and it was deemed benign, nothing to worry about. So I didn't worry. I went to Spain, and I didn't worry about it, even though I could still feel it. I repeated the ultrasound 6 months later, and it was benign again. The plastic surgeon I was working for, Carolyn Duval, specializes in breast cancer reconstruction and is a breast cancer survivor herself. So I was very well informed about breast cancer, which is now the most common type of cancer in women. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed in their lifetime, but I never imagined it would happen to me. But a couple of months after that, my lump grew so big, it was protruding out of my breast. We were busy getting ready for my daughter's grad. Ricky had just asked me to marry him. Cancer was not on the to-do list. But just like that, life can change in an instant, and everything you thought you knew can vanish. Carolyn sent me for another ultrasound, and I knew instantly when I saw it on the screen. My tumor looked like a gremlin that had arms and legs growing out of it. I knew it in my gut. This was cancer. Carolyn sent me for an urgent biopsy. I went home and told Ricky, there's a pretty good chance I have breast cancer. For some reason, I was able to say those words without crying. Because of my job, I would typically get the results from our patients sent to me before all the doctors, including Carolyn. And that way I could flag anything urgent for her to see right away. So I was the first person to find out that I had stage 2 estrogen positive breast cancer. Okay, it's what I thought. I still didn't cry. Instead, I felt frozen. As my daughter walked across the stage at grad, I couldn't help but think, will this be the last time I'll be here to celebrate with her? Will I be here to see her get married or have a baby? Will I be here to see my son graduate? The unknown was truly terrifying. I cherished every moment watching my beautiful daughter in her pink dress. I wanted this day to last forever because I knew what was coming next. I was really scared, but I knew this wasn't the end for me, and I was gonna fight with everything I had. After I found out I had cancer, everything started to happen really fast. I needed to start 5 months of aggressive chemo, followed by a double mastectomy with tissue expanders. I would slowly fill my tissue expanders until they were the right size, and later have another reconstruction surgery to replace my expanders with implants and then have fat grafting. Then I would have to take hormone suppressant therapy for 5 to 10 years, which would put me into induced menopause. Cancer was a shock, but menopause at 36 was a tough pill to swallow. When I walked into the cancer center, I thought it was going to be like the movies. But I discovered there were no popsicles, and I wasn't allowed to bring anyone with me because of COVID. There was no private room with relaxing music playing. There was just rows of chairs with cancer patients in them. When I sat down, the only sounds I heard were the constant beeping sounds from the chemo machines going off. So I would put on my headphones, close my eyes, and I dreamed about my wedding that was just a year away. I visualized that special day, which eventually became my lifeline and something to look forward to. I visualized walking down the aisle towards Ricky, being surrounded by all the people we love, and I tried to envision every moment and feel every feeling. Every time I sat in that chemo chair, I would tell myself, when I get through this, I'm gonna live my life to the fullest and never complain about anything again. After a week and a half after my first chemo treatment, my long black hair started falling out in clumps while I was in the shower. I couldn't deny any longer that I was really sick. I started to cry, and it was the first time that I really cried. I called Ricky, and he was at the gym and immediately left and came home. He ran upstairs and found me in the washroom, sitting in my towel with my wet hair. I was afraid that if I used my hairbrush, more of my hair would fall out. Ricky hugged me tight and said, "It's gonna be okay." I knew this was coming and I tried to prepare myself for it, but no one can really prepare you for this. It felt like the beginning of the end, as if I was saying goodbye to the person I once was, the person I identified with. I was a girly girl who loved hair, lashes, makeup, and cancer was stripping me from everything that made me feel feminine and everything that made me feel like me. I took the day to be sad, cry, and grieve, and the next day when I was in a better mindset, Ricky shaved my head for me. Ricky has been my rock from day one. He stayed strong for me, lifting me up even on my darkest days, never showing his own fears. Ricky is brave and fearless in his line of work. Chaos and fear was not new to him. In fact, he thrived in those situations. But now it felt like a tornado was tearing up our home, and none of us were prepared for moments like this. Now it all felt real. I felt like shit, and even worse, I now looked like a cancer patient. Soon after I began treatment, I started searching for women who were my age who I could relate to. I was finding a lot of information about women in their 50s and 60s with breast cancer. Sure, I could connect with these women about the fears we have related to cancer and how hard going through treatment is, but I couldn't find any stories from women my age who openly spoke about the fear of losing my youth, my identity, and my appearance, the things that made me feel like me. Losing my hair, lashes, and eyebrows was really hard. No one wants to talk about it because it sounds like such a superficial thing to worry about when you have something really big to worry about, like cancer. But I missed those girly things that made me feel like me. I began sharing videos and reels on social media, documenting every aspect of my journey, from shaving my head to wearing wigs, to discussing the horrific side effects of chemo, to showing how to apply fake eyelashes to eyelids that didn't have any eyelashes. I opened up about the real and vulnerable moments that came with cancer in hopes that if my story helped one person going through it, it would be worth it. Shortly after I started sharing, hundreds of young women reached out to me telling me that my strength and honesty inspired them to share their own stories. The more messages I received, the more I felt compelled to share. If you had told me a year before that I would be posting my most vulnerable, unfiltered, bald photos with no lashes, I would have thought you were crazy. But I now had other survivors looking for me for guidance and hope, and it gave me the strength to push through even on my toughest days. After completing 16 rounds of chemo, I prepared for surgery. It was time to say goodbye to my breasts, and I found myself reflecting on everything we had experienced together. I had a love-hate relationship with them. They had nourished my babies during their first year of life, only to deflate to nothing. They had undergone cosmetic surgeries to help me feel beautiful again, yet now they were the source of my illness. In that moment, all the things I once disliked about them felt insignificant. I got home after surgery and was so weak from those 5 months of chemo that I wasn't able to get up the stairs without taking a break. The physical pain I felt is something I don't wish on my worst enemy. I was so sick from the anesthetic, and I kept trying to take my pain meds, but I wasn't able to keep anything down. I had an intense pain that was radiating through my body, and my chest felt like it was torn apart. I went to get out of bed to throw up, but because I had my lymph nodes removed from under my armpits, I wasn't able to move by myself. Ricky came over just in time, handed me a bowl to throw up into, and I threw up for 3 long days. I really wanted to have a shower after being in the hospital, so Ricky grabbed a stool for me to sit on. I sat down on the stool and held the 2 drains coming out of my chest, and Ricky started to shampoo my head. I stared down at what used to be my breasts, was now just 2 long bandages where my nipples used to be. Tears started streaming down my face, but the water from the shower wiped them away. I didn't want Ricky to know that I was crying. I felt my heart breaking for us and thought, how had this become our life? Ricky helped me shower, eat, get dressed, and even emptied my drains every few hours. These incredibly hard moments changed our relationship, but brought us even closer. If there was any doubt in my mind of his love for me, that quickly vanished. I used to say, if you want to test how strong your relationship is, have a baby. Now I say, you'll discover how strong your relationship is when one of you gets sick. We've been through some really challenging times, and our relationship has been tested, and we still face challenges because of what cancer did to our lives. But I'm one of the lucky ones because my husband showed up for me and for our kids when I couldn't. He told me I looked beautiful every day, even on the days I knew he was lying, and he took care of me in every way possible. Finally, it was time for some good news. It was time for my surgery pathology results. All margins were clear. It was the best news I had had in such a long time. It meant that there weren't any cancer cells found, so I assumed that meant I was cancer-free. I waited for my doctor to swing open the door and say, "You did it! You're cancer-free!" But like I mentioned earlier, it's not like the movies. She told me she doesn't like to use the words cancer-free until after 5 years. So I asked for an MRI, which came back clear. So if you ask me, I am cancer-free. As each day passed, I slowly started to feel more like myself, but I continued to struggle with the reality of what cancer had done to me and the effects from the hormone therapy. I felt as though I was 90. My bones and joints ached every day. I struggled to grip objects or open jars, making everything challenging. The thought of returning to work or picking up my camera felt overwhelming. Recovery was long and hard. Shortly after my surgery, my hair started to come back in. It was mousy brown, so I went platinum blonde. If I was gonna have a pixie cut, I was gonna make it as cute as possible. I was trying my best to have fun with it, make the best out of my situation, but I still didn't recognize myself or feel like myself when I looked in the mirror. I wasn't sure if I would ever feel sexy or confident again. But then one day, I was filling up my car with gas, and I looked over at this guy who had slowed down, pulled up beside me. He rolled down his window, looks me up and down, and yells, "Damn!" Instead of feeling offended, I smiled and teared up. I realized I finally didn't look like a cancer patient anymore. Ricky, so excited to tell him about the guy who just checked me out. And his response was, "You're back, baby." As I started to feel better, it only felt natural to get back to work and to start hustling again. But a small hole in my incision opened up, and I could see something inside the hole. Ricky got a flashlight, and we could both see something moving around. I poked at it, I tried to pull it out. I was like, what is this? I couldn't figure it out. When I saw Carolyn the next day, she said, "Oh my God, Terza, that's your implant." So back on the operating table I went, and I was booked for emergency surgery the next day. This was now my third surgery, all within 10 months. With our wedding just now 4 months away, I was reminded I needed to slow down and rest. The priority was to let my body recover, so I listened. Fast forward 4 months later, we made it to Mexico, and our wedding day had finally arrived. As I walked down the aisle towards Ricky, a flood of memories washed over me. Those countless hours spent in that chemo chair where I clung to visions of this day. Each moment of struggle, each tear was now a reality. Here I was in front of our family and our closest friends, about to marry my best friend. I had visualized this moment hundreds of times, but it still felt surreal. I had accomplished what felt like the impossible. I could feel the love radiating from our friends and from our family. When I finally locked eyes with Ricky, time seemed to stand still. I wanted to freeze that moment forever, to hold on to the beauty of what we had fought for. In that moment, I saw not just his love, but a shared understanding of our battle, every trial, every triumph. The tears in his eyes spoke volumes. They were tears of joy, relief, and gratitude. After all that we had endured, we were standing here together, ready to begin this new chapter. As we exchanged our vows, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, it took on a much deeper meaning. Our wedding was more than just a celebration of our love. It was a profound affirmation of life, a tribute to my health, our resilience, the hope that carried us through, and the unbreakable bond that saw us through our toughest times. What I didn't realize is that after treatment, cancer never really leaves you. You never really forget the trauma that you had or the fears that you had to face. Not a day goes by where I don't think about cancer. Each time I shower, I'm reminded of what cancer took from me. Every joint ache brings back the memories that my youth was taken too soon. The hot flashes that wake me up throughout the night remind me that I'm still in menopause. And whenever I forget what I was doing or struggle to recall something, I'm reminded of the chemo brain fog. The support I received from Ricky, my friends, and the community make those difficult moments bearable and give me the strength to keep going. Survivorship is challenging, but it also has allowed me to have lifelong friendships in the cancer community where I've never felt so supported and understood. I believe that my purpose is to bring other survivors together and inspire them to share their stories too. I truly believe that if you can dream it, you can do it. Over the past 2 years, I've organized a photo shoot, which is a passion project of mine, featuring breast cancer survivors in Saskatchewan. It began with 8 women and grew to 25 women this year. It's a dream that started in that very same chemo chair, to gather women like me, helping them feel understood, beautiful, and empowered once again. I didn't choose to have cancer, but I choose to wake up each day filled with gratitude. I'm still the girly girl who loves makeup and glitter, obviously. But the version of me before cancer is forever changed. Cancer stripped me down to my core, yet in many ways was a blessing in disguise. It forced me to look inward, reevaluate my life, my priorities, and even my friendships. My perspective on everything has changed. I cherish the quiet moments with my son before school, grateful for the moments that I used to miss while I was rushing out the door. I'm present for every basketball game, and I get to make dinner for my family, and I look forward to sitting down at the table together and hearing about everyone's day. I now look forward to each birthday I get to be here to celebrate instead of worrying about being old. My scars are symbols of the fight that I won and a daily reminder of my strength and resilience. When I reflect on my cancer journey, it's clear it has nothing to do with cancer itself. The journey is the transformation that my soul experienced and the person I am today because of it. And I am truly proud of that girl that I've become. Thank you.